Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah, and on behalf of Kalwas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about how to write a thesis, a working guide because art this is the art of writing. Most of the time we don't know what is the right way of writing thesis or particularly the writing style, because it is the academic writing and it is quite professional and different. So you will get the best insight, the best guidance, the right information and knowledge about it, as we have an expert with us in today this session. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank the Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing such a wonderful platform. The aim of the Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to interact with world-renowned speakers, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to share their views, experiences, tips, which will create impact and will enable you to learn new things and develop yourself in order to grow individually as well as to contribute to the world at large. So, as our slogan is "Come, learn, and share knowledge." So today we have very special guest today. She is internationally known personality, and we always see her while contributing to the field and to the world in a different ways. She is already having a lot of information of the academia as well as the industry. So let me introduce her formally. She is a visiting research scholar at University of South Florida, Muma College of Business, M3 Center Technology and Innovation for the Hospitality. She graduated as an honor student after working at many hotels during her undergraduate education. She continued her career in the academia. Her master thesis has been awarded the best master thesis in 2014. She completed her doctorate degree in the area of destination marketing. After completing her doctorate degree in the 2019, she came to the University of South Florida for her postdoctorate research by the support of Scientific and Technological Research Council of Turkey. Her research interests are in the areas of destination marketing, smart destination, and tourism technologies. She serves as an assistant editor of the Journal of Global Business Insights. Moreover, she is an active member of International Federation for IT and Travel and Tourism, Hospitality, Financial and Technological Professionals, American Hotels and Lodging Education Institute, and Association of North America Higher Education International. In addition to that, she is a volunteer for Human Society for the Sarasota Country Animal Shelter and recording audiobooks for blind and low vision people. Last but not the least, she is a wonderful speaker, author, researcher, and above everything, she is a great human being. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Dr. Gozde. Welcome to the Kalwas platform, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, dear Dr. Shah. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me here on this beautiful Sunday. I'm so happy and I'm so honored. It's an honor for me. It's my pleasure to be here. I would like to thank to Canvas platform. Also, I would like to thank to you before
Thank you.
starting my presentation.
Yeah, yeah, it is a pleasure to have you with us. Just a reminder to the audience that Dr. Gosde will be presenting, and of course, she will be giving you answers for whatever the question you want to ask. But of course, at the end of the session, you can drop your question in the comment section, or you can email us at the info@thekalwas.com. So over to you, Dr. Gosde, please.
Thank you so much. I have a short presentation. Let me share my screen with you.
Yeah, it's visible, Doctor.
Okay, now it's okay, I guess, right?
Yes, please carry on. Thank you.
Hello again. Hello, everyone, dear participants, dear professors. As Dr. Shah mentioned, I am a visiting research scholar in University of South Florida. At the same time, I'm teaching courses in, in Cyprus International Final University. Today, I am going to talk about how to write a thesis, a working guide. I completed my PhD degree in 2019, May, 2.5 years ago. And then I applied to a scholarship to do my postdoctorate degree here in United States, and it's approved. That's how I'm here. I'm holding a scholarship from Turkish government. Actually, yes, master's and PhD thesis are done. That's why I have some experiences actually about how to write a thesis, but we are still working as all you do. We are still working on papers, on projects, on grants. So these are also, I mean, in my, I believe that how to write a thesis, how to write a paper, it's almost same process. So, but I would like to share my thesis, how to write a thesis experiences today with you. So today I am going to talk about 5 different points. The suggestions for a well-presented thesis, and then style and structure, which is the most easiest part, I believe that, and then achieving a clear argument, and then providing your knowledge about the relevant literature, and finally some helpful writing tips. Of course, it those tips can change from person to person because we all have different points of views, different habits, different work habits. But I'm going to share my experiences. I hope that those will be useful for you. So, first of all, I would like to talk about how to write a well presented thesis. Sometimes I know so many times I sit on the computer, sit in front of the computer to write a paragraph, a sentence, but at the end of that time, I got nothing. Sometimes I have it so many times, but it is normal because we are not robots. You know, we are humans, so we all have some issues, some troubles, or some responsibilities that we have to do. It is very normal. At the beginning of that process, we need to accept that we are not robots. We are human beings. So there are 6 different points in how to write well-presented thesis. First one, sentences. In the thesis, you are expected to demonstrate good grammar and thoughtful consideration about your topic. So grammar is important, but we have many softwares and many websites to fix our grammar mistakes. You know, for example, I use Grammarly. There are 2 options of Grammarly. One is full, and the other one is the free one. I'm using the free one, and it helps me so much actually. And then we need to use formal academic tone. Of course, academic journals has another language, has another academic tone. We need to be formal. We need to have one idea per sentence. Our subjects, we need to have an appropriate subject and an appropriate verb for that subject. And I think it's always better to use active voice rather than passive voice. So let me give you some details. As I've told you, you should use an academic tone throughout your writing. All these are tied up with the sentences you write. So sentences should be complete with one idea within every sentence. And it is always, I think it is always preferred that you use the active voice rather than passive voice, as this ensures clarity, you know, to have a clear meaning, clear content, clarity of expressions, actually. Also, my PhD supervisor, Dr. Nazmi Kozak, always tells me that girls that avoid fancy words. So I always prefer avoid fancy words because fancy, I believe that less is more. Of course, sometimes we need to consider about the thesis writing rules of like institution, how to write thesis, because we need to have some rules. We depend on the institutions, or we depend to our PhD supervisors. But for now, I can say that I have, on my PhD and master thesis, I focus these 6 bullet points. So, as we all know, there are um, some verbs like present tense. There are some tenses on English grammar. Present tense, we all usually use present tense, past tense, and future tense for academic writing. Um, I believe that, I mean, as I saw on the academic journals, the most popular one is present tense. Most academic writing is written in present tense, and this is used 3 times more than the past tense, actually. We use the present tense to refer to action and events that take place generally in the present, but not necessarily at a present moment or time. For example, in this defined sentence, as you can see on my PowerPoint slide, it is a definition. And we always have definitions in our thesis, in our academic papers. So in general, presence is defined as the perception of direct experience in a communication environment induced by technology. Brown et al. So in this sentence, we can see that present tense have been used. And then other tense is past tense. We normally use past tense for case studies, specific experiments, and specific historical events. Sometimes methodology part in methodology part the past tense can be used. The past tense is mostly used for specific actions or events, as I've told you before. And let me see. I think I have. Yes, I have an example here. A book titled "The Machine That Changed the World" detailed the progress of the Japanese automobile industry and compared their production model to the traditional mass production model common in the United States. So this is an example for how to use past tense in our papers. The last tense is future tense. The future tense is not often used in academic writing. It is generally reserved for plans and predictions with a very high degree of certainty. For example, my working field is hospitality and tourism management, so I use that example. The hotel chain will be building a 300th hotel in 2030. So this is a plan for the future. So we can, for example, we can use future tense for practical implications or suggestions for future researchers in our paper, in our thesis. But of course, the present tense is the most common one. So now I would like to take a look at some pointers of writing organized papers, organized paragraphs, how to organize paragraphs. A well-written paragraph and consequently a well-written thesis follows the formula TEE. T refers topic sentence. In topic sentence, this is our first sentence in our paragraphs. In first sentence, we are controlling the idea, and then we have explaining sentences. In these sentences, we can elaborate and define. And lastly, the blue E refers examples, evidence, or illustrations. So I would like to give an example now. For topic sentence, the red one, it could be like this. Surveys are the most commonly used data collection method in hospitality research. So this is our topic sentence. It means that I am in that paragraph, it means that I am going to talk about surveys, how to use surveys in hospitality research, right? And then I'm going to explain this. I'm going to define this idea. So the green sentences are explaining sentences. So, for instance, Line and Runyon analyzed 274 articles published in the top four hospitality journals between 2008 and 2010 and reported that almost 67 of these studies used surveys as the main method of collecting data. So I am explaining this sentence. In another study, Yo et al. reviewed 570 articles focused on marketing and published in top four hospitality journals between 2000 and 2009, reporting that almost half of them used surveys to collect data. So first I gave my topic sentence and then I defined this topic sentence. Now I am going to give some examples. The blue part is explain examples, evidence, and illustrations in that paragraph. Increasingly, the use of survey methods to collect data is justified by its ability to reach a larger population with minimal monetary and temporal costs. So, using surveys will continue to increase in part because of the emerging internet-based services that collect data like Amazon M-Turk, which is making data collection faster and easier than traditional survey data collections. So no need to read all the paragraph, but so for example, in that paragraph we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences. First two sentences could be topic sentence, and then we need to explain, and then we need to give some examples of that idea. Also, some other things to remember about the paragraph are, although there are no defined rules, but normally between 100 and 150 words in a paragraph is a good length to express your thoughts. So we need to always avoid long paragraphs of like 300 words or more, and ensure that there is just one main idea in every paragraph. You may know hamburger techniques. As I remember, this is another technique for communication, when we are trying to express or mention our idea, our thoughts to someone, when we are discussing something, first we need to talk about positive things, and then negative things, and then positive things again. This is for communication strategy, but now we can use that hamburger paragraph in our working guide, So first of all, topic sentence at the top. So this sentence tells the reader the main idea, or what the paragraph will be about. What are we going to talk about in that paragraph? And then we may have 3 or 4 supporting sentences. Supporting sentences gives specific details relating to the main idea. And lastly, conclusion sentence. This sentence refers to the topic sentence and sums up the main idea of the paragraph. So it's kind of closure sentence. We always have one main idea per paragraph and between 100 and 200 words. There are, let me check the time. Yes, we still have time. There are 3 essential qualities for writing a good thesis. First is unity, and then coherence, and then development. Quite simply, unity means that when ideas and paragraphs are strung together and the relationship between them is clear, then the whole writing is said to have unity. A piece of writing has coherence when there is a clear relation between paragraphs, as with unity. And when the paragraphs are strung together and the connection between them is clear, then it is coherent. In other words, everything fits together clearly. Unity goes hand hand with coherence, the ideas and discussions in your thesis or in your academic papers should be um, connected, convincing argument. And the third essential quality of good thesis writing or academic journal, academic paper writing is development. This means that your discussion must be implied supported with details, research, and examples where necessary. So after that, I would like to talk about research question. Research questions should logically flow into the discussion of your data collection. The data collection section should logically lead to the findings and analysis section. And this section leads naturally to the conclusions and recommendations. If there's a logical arrangement to the ideas, the whole discussion flows. This provides focus and coherence to your topic as a whole, and thus everything fits together. Therefore, we will have a well-written and well-presented thesis. So the research question part, I would like to shortly give us sums up that research questions needs to be connected between data collection and findings and analysis part. At the end of the thesis is recommendation. So we need to have a logical flow of ideas, focus and coherence to our topic, fits together convincingly, and well-written and well-argued thesis comes automatically. So, of course, in relations, we know that first impressions are very, very important, So it is almost same in thesis, So first impressions, our first impression, of course, I'm talking about academic papers or thesis. First impressions comes with title, table of contents, abstract, and introduction. For example, when we are doing our literature review, when we find a paper to read, of course, at first we are going to look at title. So title is the most read part of any type of thesis or papers, academic works. So title is very important. So that's why we always choose a well-written title. So this is essential. Good first impressions are reflected in the title, table of contents, abstract, and introduction, as I mentioned. So as I've told you, the title must have a clear idea. In other words, it must clearly indicate your topic and encapsulate what you are doing in that thesis. We need to keep it short. I think no more than 15 words. Of course, it depends on the topic, but in social sciences, I can say that no more words than 15 words. Next one is table of contents. At first glance, it should give the reader a sense of organization and logic of our work. So the abstract should provide a good, clear summary or overview of your thesis, because this part will be the most widely published and read part. It should be interesting enough to capture the reader's attention. The abstract will give the examiners a fair idea of whether the rest of our thesis is well written and well presented or have a good quality. After the abstract, the next section is that the most read part is introduction part. So this section should be interesting and have to have a logical flow, but we need to keep it short and simple. And normally I prefer to write introduction part at the end of the thesis, because after completed all the parts like methodology, literature review, what I found on my research, what I recommend for the future researchers, after done with all these parts, I normally write introduction part, but it is, of course, my habit, my point of view. So it can change from people to people. I mean, it depends on your style of working. And then style and structure. As I've mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I think it is the easiest part, because it's referencing. We need to correct referencing format. If we are using APA format, which is mostly used format in social sciences, we need to organize our references based on APA format. And if we have any funding of our research or grant or research project, we need to mention this. Also, in our references, we prove that we know previous knowledge and we know what are we doing in our work. So normally, of course, we are not robots, right? We are human beings, so we can have some mistakes, especially when it comes to like comma, space, like capitalized words. The APA format, actually, it looks easy, but at the same time, we need to focus well. Of course, we might have some mistakes, but normally no more than no more 10 reference error. The thesis, otherwise, it should not be marked that includes using the correct format of your referencing. Therefore, you must make sure that the correct referencing format is used. The general preference is for the APA format, as I've mentioned before. That is the format used by American Psychological Association. However, this may vary between disciplines, so it is best to check. Of course, it is best to check your institution thesis writing rules, or you can ask to your PhD supervisors or your colleagues. So good referencing is important because it allows your reader to refer to the foundations on which your research is built, and it tells the reader which part of your thesis is previous knowledge and which is your original work. And then editing. Normally, I prefer 2 full drafts because at least twice the full drafts will allow you to pick up the most of the major flows. Let other people besides your advisor read some sections, particularly the introduction and conclusion especially, and give you constructive feedback, revise and refine as best you can, and you can set yourself a deadline for submission, or you could be writing forever, which is not good. We don't want it. I say this because you will feel that your thesis could always do with a constant revision, and if that's the case, then you will never finish writing it. But we need to remember the curse of perfectionism. So always we need to set ourselves a deadline. And no one is perfect. No paper is perfect paper. So of course we need to do our best, but the perfectionism is the biggest challenge in our academic writing process. So as I was trying to give you some like checklist for editing, I would like to mention that checklist now. So at the end of writing process, we can focus on, does your argument and purpose remain clear throughout the paper? Do we use appropriate tone? Have you presented current views on the topic so that the reader can contextualize your argument? Does the introduction part of our idea explain its significance, provide background information, attract the interest of your reader, provide a plan of the thesis, present your thesis clearly? So it is the most important part of introduction, how to write introduction part. After that, does the body of your paper cover your major points in a logical flow, in a logical order? Are each of your major points supported by the appropriate amount of evidence and analysis? Do you make clear transitions as you move from point to point? And does your conclusion follow logically from your introduction and body? And then I can say that when it comes to structure of your thesis, it is very important to consult your supervisor about this. What does he or she, your supervisor, expect clear about this? Before you start writing, remember, if you don't know where are you going, you are likely to end up somewhere else. Also clearly indicate all sections and subsections, that is headings and subheadings, as you write, be guided by an outline or plan. This helps keep track of the evolution of your ideas and determines the structure of your argument and outline or plan. Also makes it easier to think in terms of the chapters. This process allows you to synthesize your thesis. The structure is about like heading style, font size, font style, layout. It depends on the institution thesis writing rules. So it may change from university to other university. It depends on the university, it depends on the institution. And then that is, I think, that is the most, that was the most challenging part for me when I was writing my thesis, achieving a clear argument. So what is your topic and how is it interesting and important? Why we are doing this research? So what question part? What are you doing that hasn't been done before? What message do you want to communicate? What is the point of your research? So now let's turn our attention to maintaining a clear argument in your thesis. The following guide questions, as you see on my PowerPoints, can assist in ensuring that your points comes across. What is your topic and how is your work interesting and important? State problem as simply as you can. What are you doing that hasn't done before? So what message do you want to communicate? What is the point of your research? How does it fit into the context of your field? You have to be able to convince your reader of the validity of your work and its contribution to the body of knowledge. So a clear argument is absolutely imperative. Also, your thesis must consider its identification with key debates as postgraduate level. Your discussion of these issues must be well informed. I can say this. When I was working on my master thesis, the literature review part was one of the most challenging part, for me. I was like reading, I was trying to write something, I was trying to mention what is done before on that area. But of course, it is not possible to write everything. It is not possible to read every single paper, So we need to, that's why we have some limitations, but these limitations is also our outline, kind of a working plan. So we need to show our debate fits in. We need to show an awareness of other researchers' positions. We need to show to reader that we have the knowledge of relevant literature. Also, we need to, um, before readers, we need to show our PhD supervisors that we have the knowledge of contextual background. So, as a last part, we have to show that we have the knowledge of approach and findings in the field. So, now I would like to talk about theories, key concepts, propositions, and methods with the justification of method. When discussing theories related to your study, the key concepts and or propositions that underpin the topic should be included with regards to methods. So you must be able to justify why you use a particular this specific method in your research over other methods. So you must first discuss the alternative methods and point out why your choice is more relevant to your research during. So it allows you to identify the limitations of your study, which is not bad thing to do. You must have limitations to keep your research focus. And include the works of experts in the field. You never know when one of them could be invited to sit in your panel, in your viva, in your thesis defense, So, secondly, your literature should include up-to-date information from the most recent publication. For example, I always write the literature review part first, and then methodology part, and then findings and analysis, and then conclusion. But while I'm working on analysis, collecting data, or writing the conclusion part, there might be some new related papers published, So at the end of this process, it is always good to be back to the beginning, to the literature review, to search the like Google Scholar or any other platforms to search if there is any new papers which is related to our topic or not. So we need to up-to-date information. We need to have up-to-date information. So I can give you some helpful writing tips which were useful for me. Outline always works. I'm not talking about the table of contents. I always have another outline for myself. For example, what am I going to talk? What am I going to write on that headings, that subheadings, and then start with core of thesis. Of course, it's always good to start with core of thesis, and then we can work on minor subheadings. And it's always good to contact with your supervisor during those process. Let's say during a month, during some weeks, you don't write any single sentences, any single word, but it's still good to contact with your supervisor to motivate yourself, to let him or her know that you are working on your thesis, you are thinking about it, working doesn't include just physically writing. We need to think about it all the time. So, for example, you can go out, have fun with your friends, but at the same time, you are thinking about background softwares in your computer, right? You are always thinking about your work, your thesis. So it is a process. You need to let your supervisor know that you are focusing, you are into that thesis. And you need to get feedback in every stage. It is very important. For every stage, it is always good to set a deadline for completion. For example, my supervisor he never gives me deadline, but I always set a deadline for myself and let him know. For example, he was saying that, Gozde, you can give the introduction part to me whenever you're done. So it means there is no deadline in his head. But I have a deadline. So at that point, I would say that, okay, professor, I am going to give my literature review part in 2 weeks. So it is a deadline. I set my own deadline. And as I've told you, writing, of course, writing is important. We need to write, but thinking takes more times than writing. So just please try to write 2 to 5 hours per week. But at the same time, we have a life. As I've mentioned, we are not robots. We need to exercise, eat good food, and drink, go and have fun. We have a family, we have friends, we have our own lives. We need to be happy. We have to be happy to be able to writing a well presented thesis. We need to have a clear state of mind. We need to have a clear mind. So you may you may want to go out and walk, or meditation, or praying, or cooking, cleaning, whatever you want, whatever makes you feel good, you need to try this. And we need to save work frequently. I always copy my works to 2 or 3 different platforms. For example, Drive, hard flash drives, or my email, and my computer. And don't give up. Don't give up. If someone can do, then you can do. Lastly, I would like to mention some reference management tools which are very useful for me. These reference management tools that help scholars create and manage their list of references for research projects. Most tools are designed to organize citations into specific formats for the preparation of manuscript and bibliographies. So we have many reference management tools. You may know some of them. Zotero and Mendeley are free. That's why these two are the most popular ones. But also we have Reference Manager, EndNote, RefWorks, ProCite. These 4, Reference Manager, EndNote, RefWorks, and ProCite, as I know, these are not for free. You need to subscribe, you need to pay. But some universities can have access for free. But I always prefer free ones, For example, my master thesis, I was using Mendeley. But for my PhD thesis, I used Zotero. So Zotero is a free and it means open source reference management tool that is available as an add-on for the web browsers. And you can add that Zotero for Chrome, Safari, and Firefox browser. This is the website of Zotero. Zotero simply recognizes bibliographic information in books, journal articles, and other resources from internet, website, and databases. So, and you can store the related PDF files, images, and links into your Zotero library. You can create a bibliography in Word or OpenOffice, whichever you want, whichever you are using. And you can publish your shared libraries for your organization, class, or research group. Clearly, Zotero organizes your reference list based on APA or Helvetica or whichever referencing rules you are using. Of course, it is not necessary to use those type of softwares, but I would like to mention that I get benefit from Zotero. I get that advantage. It is like I spent less time to organize my references by using Zotero, so you may want to look at it. So once we're done with our thesis, and then the best part is coming, oral examination or viva or thesis defense. We are going to have an academic conversation with the panel, with our supervisor, with other professors, so it's kind of closure, actually. The purpose of the oral defense is threefold. First, it provides opportunity for academic conversation among peers. You are expected to provide authoritative insights into previously uncharted or contested issues. As the expert, you are more knowledgeable in the specific area you study than anyone else at the table. Hence, you should be well prepared to present information. So oral examination signals the time to bring closure to your doctoral program and to celebrate your enhanced knowledge and expertise. Please keep it in your mind that you write this thesis, you are the expert on that field, so self-confidence, self-esteem. You are going to just talk about your thesis, the things that you've done about your thesis. So it's kind of academic conversation, but please keep it in your mind that you already know everything about your thesis. You are the best on that thesis because you write it. So before going to Viva, it is always useful to check the classroom, the venue, or the building, wherever you are going to present your thesis. Of course, because of the COVID, we may have the virtual, the online Viva, online oral examination, but if it's going to be face-to-face, it is better to always go and check which building, which classroom you are going to be presenting. And what are you going to wear? It is it is the part of presentation. And you need to prepare outline for your professors, that what are you going to talk about, the table of contents. For example, first 2 minutes you are going to talk about introduction, and then the other for 3 minutes you are going to talk about your literature review. It is always good to give or prepare an outline for the professors, for your supervisor. And then, as I mentioned you before, it is always good to have a look at on recent research. For example, as I know, you need to give your thesis to the professors, to your Viva panel, at least a month earlier than the exact date of oral examination. So in that last 1 month, you might have some recent research that you didn't mention in your thesis, but you need to know. It is always keep yourself up to date. It is always good. Maybe 2 or 3 days earlier than the exact oral examination day, it might be better to do practice. It makes you give more clarity, coherence, and time management. It is important. I always do this. Last week, especially, it is always good, at least for me, to do practice. And during your Viva, you need to listen, and then you need to respond. We can take time to think about questions. We don't have to give the answer at just right that time. You can easily ask that professor, can you please give me a minute to think about it? Can I go back to that question at the end of the Viva, later I need to think about it? We can say this. And we can say, I don't know, but maybe this, that could be the right answer, right? It's not possible to know every single thing. Of course, we wrote that thesis, we are expert, but if it's not something related exactly to our methodology but if it's related with the subtopics, we may not know everything. So just simply, you can say that I need a minute to think about these questions. Um, of course, we need to be calm, listen, and then we can respond. And lastly, I would like to, this is my last PowerPoint slide. I would like to mention conceptual map, a literature review chart or table, and brainstorming, thinking out loud, and lastly, research speed date. You can always work on a conceptual map at the beginning or during writing your literature review part. The conceptual map gives you an kind of outline, your main idea related with the subheadings. I can show you some conceptual map at the end of my PowerPoint presentation. And I'm going to show you another literature review chart actually after done with the PowerPoint slides. And we were having a small chat before starting to our before starting to presentation. We were having a small chat with dear Dr. Shah. We were talking about brainstorming, how to, for example, during the lunch, during the daytime, we were discussing our friends with about our topic, the call of papers about new issues, new topics in our field. It is always good to thinking out loud. It is always good to have brainstorming. I'm sure it will give you like many different ideas, many different research topics. And last week I attended a research speed date. You may know what is speed date. Dating, but in a research content, in a research aim. I am a visiting, as I mentioned you before, I'm a visiting scholar in the University of South Florida, and that college, our business college, arranged a research session. We mentioned all faculty members mentioned the research topics that they are interested in, and the dean or the vice dean arranged some discussion groups. For example, I might have that notes. I'm going to show you. For example, between 2 a.m. to 2:30, between 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., I was on the discussion one table with the people that I don't know. We talked about our research topics during that 30 minutes. And then from 2:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., I was in another research discussion table with different people. So we know each other more about our research topics, about our field. So it gives us like many different common things to work on it, like joint papers, research articles, the idea about research articles. It was kind of brainstorming for us, and it was very useful. So these are my last suggestions that you can do with your coworkers, with your colleagues, with your friends. Yes, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. It was a great honor for me to be here. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Gozde. It was wonderful presentation, and I was enjoying whatever you were saying, and you were describing each and everything in a so simple way that I could see the comments that people were commenting that yes, the doctor is explaining the things in a very simple way, and it's very informative sessions. We learn a lot because we are the beginners, and that was our aim of this session, that they could learn a lot from your experiences. And I could remember the things which you were describing, most of the things which my supervisor told me at the start of my PhD, that set a tone for the academic writing, because it's not the everyday language. The secondly, the passive voice, which you have already mentioned in your content, By the way, I love the content. It was superb, and it was full of information, because we have gone through this journey, and still we are going through. So it remind me that different things which we used to do in our research papers, in looking the different theses during examinership, all the points and bullets were there, and it was so wonderful. Thank you very much for such an elaborative session and for such a wonderful description. I would say that yes, indeed, you have covered a lot, and I love the way you talk about the references, because we got a lot of questions regarding the references style, and you have elaborated very interestingly, and you have told that what you used during your master and what software you used in your PhD and how did it help you. So it was wonderful. So most of the question you have already covered in with your powerful content, but still we have certain questions. And if you allow me, should we start with the first
Please,
question?
I'm more than happy. Please, Professor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There is one comment, and they are asking for your recommendation. The question is, with regard to academic writing, there are several software available for writing improvement online. Do you recommend it, or will it change my context and content? So, your comment on that, please.
Um, ha- Thank you so much for the questions. First of all, uh, you mean, Professor, can you please ask it again? You mean any specific software for improved writing?
Yes, they are asking that should they go for editing improvement online software for their thesis write up, because if they go through the software editing software, then the content and the context of the paragraph would change. But they say that it is since the second language of them, they don't know the English very well. So should be they adopting any editing software or online software for improvement of grammatical mistakes and things, because sometimes they replace the words. When it replace the word, obviously the context and the content will change. So they are concerned about the context and content, that should they apply any online software for editing. They are asking for your recommendation, please.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to share my screen again, Professor. Uh,
Sure, please. Sure.
um, you are seeing right
It's
now.
visible. Yes, it's visible. Carry on,
Okay.
please.
So I always use the only software that I'm using for improve my writing is Grammarly. Um, um, it is it has two different options. One is free, one is needs subscribing. For example, let's have a quick look at how it works. We already write a paragraph, right? We already wrote a paragraph, and then we need to improve it. We need to become a better writer. And for example, we wrote this paragraph, but misspellings. It should be like this, it corrects us, and then misspellings and grammatical errors can affect your credibility. We wrote effect, but that will be better to write is effect in that way. The same goes for misused commas. We shouldn't have comma here, and other type of punctuation. There is a blank here. We need to remove it. Not only will Grammarly underline these issues in red, we need to add but. It improves our writing. It will also should be show you how to correctly write this sentence. It should be a sentence. I am using just Grammarly. Underline that are blue indicate that. Blue underlines. So it suggests us some better way to mention, to express ourselves while we are writing. A sentence that is unnecessarily word. For example, we don't have to use these words. You will find suggestions that can possibly we don't have to use that can help you revise a wordy sentence in an effortless manner. That part could be better with effortlessly revise a wordy sentence. So I am using just Grammarly, but also, for example, it will be better to mention that. Um, For example, let me go to Google Scholar. How am I writing? I would like to show you. Okay. For example, I am going to focus on, I'm going to write a paper about this topic, just an example. Okay, this is about sentiment analysis in hospitality and tourism, a thematic and methodological review. I'm going to write a paper about thematic and methodological review. For example, I'm going to write introduction. Okay, let's read the first paragraph. Humans are social species. As such, cooperation is critical for us. So I am always focusing that what is the topic and what are these authors mentioned in their first sentences. And I am going to apply them to my work. This is how am I writing, how I was writing at the beginning during my thesis, For example, in literature review, for example, they are going to mention review on sentiment analysis research. So several review studies regarded on sentiment analysis in computer sciences, but relatively few were in marketing and management, and only 3 in the hospitality and tourism domain. Reviewed the sentiment analysis tool used in hospitality and tourism and illustrated TripAdvisor data. So it means that I am going to start with the research gap sentences, because this first sentence is focusing on research gap. They mentioned that there are several studies on that field, but less studies on this field. So we are going to focus on this field. That's why we are going to use that methodology. We are going to focus on that field, that topic, that research topic. This is how I was writing. And after that, as I've mentioned, I am just using Grammarly.
Okay, thank you very much
Is it
for.
clear?
Yeah,
I can try to give more clear answer.
no, it's fine because that was another question that people have asked, that which software do you recommend. So it is lovely to see that you answer in advance so that people can have a better understanding that what kind of software, if they have to look for, what kind of software is available and what kind of software you are using particularly as an expert. So you have recommended it so nicely. Wonderful. That leads me to another question, which is very much important, and they want to have your thoughts on that. The question is, what is your opinion, dear doctor, that do you think at postgraduate level there should be one subject or at least some series of workshops related to academic writing? So why don't we have any specific teacher to explain the academic writing in detail? Why we learn by our own through trial and error process? Like we have a research methodology class, why don't we have the academic writing class? Yes, your thoughts on that, please.
I totally agree with that person. There are many academic writing research courses for free. Also, it's not for free. Research. I've attended many research methods courses during my master's and PhD process. I am sure. I mean, of course, it is not that easy to pay for those kind of conferences, those kind of courses. It's not that easy, especially for a PhD student. But it is always. I mean, especially during the COVID time, we have many open sources, On YouTube, there are many videos. There are many documents that we can read and use for improve our academic writing. I think it is the best way to improve our academic writing is reading academic articles, but reading loudly. At the same time, we can correct our pronunciation. We can clearly understand that the meaning of that word. It is always good to read loudly, not in our mind, not in our brain, not in our head. I mean, I think it is always good to read academic journal articles, but in a good journals. I think it's always useful to pick one, two, or three top tier journals in our field and to focus on that journal, to read every issue, every paper, every new article on published on that journal. So in that way, we are going to up to date ourselves, and at the same time, we are going to read most recent papers. Also, it's a good way to improve our academic writing.
Yes, very nicely said, doctor. And that reminded me that when we were in University of Malaya, we used to go for workshops related to academic writing. They used
Yeah,
to
yeah.
tell us that,
I was
yes,
trying to mention these
yeah,
workshops. Yes.
exactly. So we even paid for the different workshops in order to learn the academic language, because it is quite different and it is not the words which are being used everyday life. So we have to. I could remember that my research methodology instructor used to say that talk like a researcher. So researcher, they talk in a different way with a different tone, as you mentioned in your content as well. And yes, of course, we have to read a lot. That's what I recommend to my students, that through reading you will come to know the different terminologies, and then you will be able to reproduce in your own writing. So wonderful recommendation by you, that yes, look after the recent publication and good journals. Through this way they can enhance their academic writing skills for that purpose. Okay, doctor, we have another very important question now. They want your opinion as an expert, as an examiner. So they want to ask that what are the most popular reasons for examiners to call the thesis as a poor written? What are the reasons behind when the examiner, they say it is poorly written, the thesis? Can you just mention few of them, please?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I think I mean, I can say that while I was beginning the first stage of my PhD, I was searching for a topic that to work on, but everyone told me that goes that it is not a rocket science. Of course, you are going to write a thesis, but in a clear way. I mean, we that's why I mentioned the importance of outline. It is so important for us. What is our aim? What are we going to do? How are we going to research? How are we going to search for that topic? On which methodology? I mean, and then how can readers get benefits from these results? I think um, it is the important part of how to write thesis. I mean, a poor thesis will be like um, the written thesis will be like unclear methodology, poor literature review part, and the implications, poor implications. Because so what question we need to answer. So we are writing this thesis, but what are we going to do with that results? How are we going to use these results? Who is going to get benefit from? This parts are important, I guess. So maybe it might be better to think about that um, thesis topic as a third person, not as a writer, as a third person. If you would like to read those type of um, thesis, would you be interested in those results? Would you be interested in this methodology? As a reader, we need to think at first. We need to think about that topic as a reader, not as a writer.
Yes, very nicely said once again. And that's the beauty of the expert, that they explain things very in a simple way, and the people get through it. So we have another very important question. Most of the time, my student even ask the same question, that is self-citation in thesis possible and correct? Yes, please. Can we cite ourselves, our own work in the thesis?
I think yes, we can. If we have, sometimes we need to. For example, some studies are especially like 3 steps, 4 steps studies, like different stages of at whole topic. Um, for example, if we are working on a big research project, we can publish more than one papers. So with every single paper, every single subject is related with the previous one. If we are going to build our paper to our previous studies, of course we are going to cite to our previous studies. It's going to be self citation. But of course there is the limitation. The limitation for this, it's not a rule, it's not a certain rule. For example, you cannot cite to yourself more than 3 times, more than 4 times. It's not something like this. um, but yes, I mean, we can do self citation, but um, it should be in a logical flow. There should be a logic behind this.
Yes, very nicely said once again. Thank you very much, Doctor, for such a wonderful answer. Now we have one last question, that as of your experience in writing a thesis, what was the biggest challenge for you in write-up, particularly in write-up process? It was in the introduction, literature review, methodology, analysis, or conclusion part. That the audience wants to know, that what was the most difficult write-up stage for you during your PhD thesis? Yes, please.
um, Thank you so much for the question. The most challenging part is the literature review part for me. Still like this, but now um, I am trying to push myself to write more literature review. I am working on many papers with my colleagues, with my coworkers, with my co-authors, but I'm always trying to focus on literature review part because I need to improve myself on that field. The methodology part, I think it is the easiest part because we are writing what we done on that process. It's kind of recipe, like how to cook a soup, how to bake a cake. If you know the ingredients, if you already cook, if you already bake it, you know how to talk about it. You can easily give that recipe to the others. So methodology part is kind of recipe. You are going to talk about what you done on that field. How did you collect your data? So it is the easiest part, I think. Introduction part also is kind of easy because we already done with the whole thesis. We are going to just give a logical flow about our thesis. But I believe that for me, the literature review part is the most challenging part.
Yeah. Very nicely said once again, Doctor. It was so wonderful to hear your recommendation and tips, all these things. Now, in the last, I would ask the very simple question, even though it would be a difficult, but in order to motivate the researchers and particularly the beginners who are yet to carry out the thesis in their master's or PhD, please share your journey of research. What was your source of motivation for doing PhD? What was the biggest challenge for you in the stage of PhD, and how did you overcome that? Through this way, the audience, they will come to know that how difficult situation came to you, and then how did you overcome that thing. Because we say that PhD journey is not easy, but even though we say it's very joyful journey, you have to balance the between the life and the PhD work. At the same time, you have to enjoy the PhD work as well. So please share your journey of research to the audience, please.
Um, Thank you so much, Professor. The at the beginning, I mean, in during my master's degree, my motivation is um, actually motivation comes from inside first. I mean, if you want to do this, you can do. If you really want to do this, and if someone already did it, why? I mean, you can do this. If someone can, yes, I can. But that's why I'm telling that the motivation comes from inside. If we want to do this, we can do anything. Just believe. Uh, but sometimes we are having some challenges and have some problems, issues, like demotivating parts. Of course, we all have those kind of challenges. But um, if you are using social media, you can see like only positive vibes, only positive thoughts, only positive people around me. So I always um, trying to be in an environment that motivates me. For example, during my master's or PhD thesis, PhD education, PhD degree, my supervisor was motivated. I mean, he was the most motivating motivating people around me, because person around me. Even if I didn't write anything on that week, on that month, in a month, I always meet one to him and have a small chat about my PhD, about what am I doing, or life, about anything. I mean, those kind of small chats, like small talks, was kind of brainstorming for me. Of course, we are having some trouble, some issues in life, but as a researcher, as a PhD candidate, as a PhD student, it is our reality, and we need to go back that reality. Um, it could be your family, your pet, if you are having an animal, your meditation, you can pray, you can cook. We need to have that clear state of mind, like clear mood, motivated mood. You can visualize your dreams. For example, when I done with my PhD thesis, I've mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, I'm holding a scholarship from Turkish government. And at that time, I really wanted to be here as a postdoc researcher in Sarasota, in University of South Florida. And at that time, I was dreaming about the office in the University of South Florida. I was dreaming about the city center. I was going to live camps of that city center, that website, and I was like Google Maps. I was walking on the street via Google Maps. I was dreaming myself on that street. I was dreaming myself on that university, on that. For example, I was dreaming about my business card. It is written like Dr. Gozde Turktarhan, University of South Florida. I was dreaming about it. I was always trying to visualize my dream, and it helps me a lot.
Very nicely said. Wonderful to hear this story that yes, people like you who has reached to the certain level, they have gone through the process. So you cannot skip the process. There is no shortcut in life. So you have to be in the queue and you have to struggle a lot. And I love the way you said that never give up. And
Yeah.
yes, that's the, yeah, if you don't give up, only then you will be able to achieve it. I love the way you explained that how you were dreaming about your business card and all these mapping and going through the streets. Yes, this is what we were doing when we I was given the offer letter in University of Malaya. So I was even doing the same thing. I was searching for the Kuala Lumpur different roads, that where are the different for example the shopping malls and where the university is located and what are the hostels facilities, etc. So that reminded me the same thing as this. It's the human nature actually,
Yes.
that we all do like that thing. And
Yes.
I love the way you said that motivation is some certain kind of things which is from inner side. We
Yes.
call it intrinsic motivation. If you have intrinsic motivation, of course you are going to get it. And most of the time we say that if you have a thirst for that, if you are hungry enough for your dream, you will be achieving it, because the universe that will conspire in a way that you will get the things what you want. But your hungerness should be strong enough. What I used to listen to the Les Brown, he used to say that you need to be hungry. So if you are hungry towards your dream, you have to struggle a lot, you have to work hard, and then you will be able. Thank you very much for sharing your story. It was wonderful. It was very motivating, wonderful. In the last, Doctor, I would like to ask you, what are your concluding remarks, and what is your message to the world as teacher, researcher, trainer, learner, professional, and educator? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Professor. I'm so happy to be here today. Um, Thank you for asking my opinion, my experience, my suggestions. You know, teaching is another way of learning. Talking about something is another way of thinking. So while I was talking about my experience, my suggestions, I was at the same time thinking about my experiences, my aims, my goals. So I am still learning. Of course, there are many things to learn for all of us. Um, I can say that we all need to find the things that motivate us in the life, not just about our PhD or master's degree, but in life. Um, I think it. I mean, I believe that giving is the best way to receiving. You know, giving your attention, giving your energy, giving your time to the people, to the animal, to the environment, to the nature. I'm sure that universe, that energy, God, I mean, whatever you believe, it will give you it. You are going to receive more than you give. So it is helping, for example, helping to animals, helping people, helping environment. It makes me feel better always. So um, it is kind of meditation for me, you know. So I think I found my happiness in that way. So I can say that we need to have first inner peace, and we need to how to find our inner peace, and then um, things are going to work hopefully.
Very nice message to the world. Yes, if you are satisfied, only then you can spread the peace, and you can have a positive impact towards the animal, towards the environment, towards the world. Very nicely said. And I love the phrase that you mentioned, that teaching is also another kind of learning.
Yes.
uh, yes, very nice message to the world. And thank you very much for your time, your valuable knowledge, for wonderful presentation and superb content. The slides were so powerful, and I loved all the slides and all the things. It was very helpful, because I could see the comments of the people. They liked a lot, and they are congratulating us for having such a wonderful session for them. It was enlightenment session. Once again, thank you very much for us. It was wonderful to have you. And indeed, writing is an art, of course. You can learn it by practicing, because what the guidance and the tips shared by the respected guest speaker is wonderful. Do follow the distinguished guest speaker through her research work, and you can email her for future learning and guidance. She is very generous and is always ready to help the people. Moreover, a wonderful explanation, powerful content which the great speaker has already elaborated will help you to learn and develop your understanding regarding proper way of writing a thesis. Take advantage of all information, the important tips and suggestions shared by the expert. So at the end, that's all we have time for today. Thank you once again, Dr. Gozde Turktarhan, if I pronounced it properly. I
Correct.
would
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I would also like the audience who join us, if you have any additional question about the information shared today, please email to us, or you can directly connect to the speaker through her email or social media. She is always there for you people.
Mhm.
Thank you all for your support and liking our session. Stay tuned because many more sessions are on the way. Please do not miss any session. So till next session, take care of yourself.